Hi everyone. Welcome to First Chapter Fridays at the Wyckoff Public Library. My name is Lisa, and normally I'd be checking books out to you at the front desk, but today I'll be reading the first chapter of a book called The Forbidden Garden by Ellen Herrick. And it's a book you can find on Libby if you like it and you want to check it out yourself. I thought this would be a good book to introduce as we head into spring and the gardening season. I also love books with a bit of magic and mystery, and this book has both. It's set in England and is centered around a formal garden in an ancestral country house called Kirkwood Hall. Generations of Kirkwoods have attempted to return that garden to its former glory, but have failed. And now the current owners, Graham and Stella Kirkwood, are determined to succeed where their predecessors have failed. And they're ready to do whatever it takes, including hiring a mysterious American named Sorrel Sparrow. And I'm going to start by reading the prologue and then the first chapter. The garden waited, behind the yew hedges, behind the crumbling brick, within the sight of the ancient house, under skies both heavy and light. The garden waited for someone to save it. Beneath the soil, now emptied of any nourishment, seeds huddled, asleep or worse, and still the garden waited. First there were birds that flew over and settled to pick at the bones of the garden. Then the small creatures dug and scrabbled until bulbs were gnawed and raw white. Finally, the larger animals came, deer and dog, and even a lost soldier, shoes worn to paper. Animals were hungry, their ribs pressed sharp against their fur, their fingers frost-tipped, their eyes as empty as the garden had become. Years passed with nothing to show in a land once so enchanted that bees and butterflies slept safe in the blossoms after their nectar was gathered. Here was a place that defined beauty, in petals and leaves, scent and sight, hue and touch. Now, no matter the trowels pressed into the earth, the care taken with each tiny seedling, that garden would not wake. It was waiting for one pair of hands, one heart, one fine and tender soul to rouse it and release its magic. Chapter 1, Thistledown. Graham, Lord Kirkwood, put down the phone and turned to his wife Stella. Fiona says she's found a gardener, he said. In America? What good does that do us here? Stella asked, looking up from her book. Fiona thinks this person might be willing to travel. Something about a bad summer in her village, a child's death, townspeople on edge. Doesn't sound like a good thing. It's been nearly a year, but apparently everybody's still a bit shell-shocked. Graham tapped away at his laptop for a moment in silence. Yes, here it is, in the papers over there. Modern-day witch hunt, involving 3 sisters and their own gardens, all very peasant with pitchforks and torches. I'll send you over the story. Doesn't it sound perfect for us? A professional to sort things out while you regain your strength? Stella's head shot up. I'm hardly an invalid, she said. Whatever made me ill is gone now, and I'm none the worse for it. Besides, is this the kind of thing we need right now, Gray? She asked. Isn't the garden enough of an uncanny mystery without dropping some poor innocent into the middle of our rather interesting lives? But that's just it, Stella. That's why Sorrel Sparrow must come to England. With all that she's suffered in that town, the ruination of her own gardens, and all that she's recovered in this year with her sisters, I'm hoping she can find the key to our ruined garden, and perhaps more. I know you think I'm silly to feel that this place needs more than just time and compost. There is something to those old stories and to this young woman, I think. Fiona agrees, and she knows Sorrel. I believe they're meant for each other, this garden and this girl. I don't know why you won't let me continue this project. I'm perfectly capable of working with someone here to put this place right again. Others may have failed, but I'm determined, Stella said. Yes, my love, this is true, but I have no wish to expose you or lose you to this garden when a capable young woman has presented herself to us. Well, she hasn't really, Gray. You and your sister are going to press her into coming into England. Graham laughed. We can be very persuasive. Stella looked at her husband with all the love she felt in her heart and the indulgence she had come to need when Graham got hold of a project, even if it had been her project from the start. "My darling," she said, and she held out her hand. "If it's Sorrel Sparrow we need, then it's Sorrel Sparrow we shall have." It would be days before Sorrel even noticed the letter that came from Kirkwood Hall, as the nursery prepared for its own reawakening at Granite Point in the United States. It then took some time before she was nudged into reading it. In fact, it was her sister Nettie who finally read it out loud to Sorrel as she sat at the kitchen table. The thick, pale blue envelope sat in the silver tray by the front door for almost a week, along with all the bills that were still a bother to pay after the poor high season of last year. It was Nettie, in fact, who picked it up and, weighing it in her palm, carried it into the kitchen. Nettie handed Sorrel the envelope and stood behind her chair. "It's postmarked days and days ago, sweetie," Nettie said, nudging her sister, "and it's from England." "I know, I saw it earlier," Sorrel said, and leaned her head against Nettie's. "I just forgot." "Well, open it," Nettie said. "Maybe you have a secret inheritance worth millions, hidden by dastardly relatives." "Take a breath, Miss Marple," Sorrel laughed. "Honestly, I've gotten just a bit afraid of the mail." Nevertheless, Sorrel turned the envelope over, slit it open. Inside was a handwritten letter. She passed it to Nettie. "Here, you read it," Sorrel said. Nettie took the letter and made a show of smoothing it out and holding it up before her as if she needed glasses. "A letter, on paper, with ink and such penmanship," Nettie said. "I feel a good story coming on." She began reading it, and as she did, both sisters felt their curiosity rise. And when she finished, Nettie looked at Sorrel with one eyebrow raised. "Well, he's confident, I'll say that," Sorrel said. "I haven't even agreed to anything, and he's got me all Sherlock to his Watson." "How great would it be, Sorrel, if you took him up on this offer? I mean, an adventure of this sort doesn't come along often. Not for us, anyway." "Well, that's true, but it's no unexpected fortune," Sorrel said as she took the letter from Nettie. Nettie slapped the table. "Well, it's close enough. Go for it, Sorrel. Go forth and guard." The sisters spent more days discussing Sorrel's grand adventure, as they called it. Everyone weighed in with the pros, not one single con. Fiona Hathaway brought over a picture of her brother Graham in his knickerbockers and a beanie hat, jam on his face, and a teddy bear in his hand. "In case you are concerned that he's a bit grand," she said, "and to reassure you that he's often silly in the nicest way." Sorrel did not so much make a decision about the trip as get pulled into it by her sister and her friends. There was no way around it. Sorrel was going to fly the nest. And as much as her family and friends might wish to keep her close, they also wanted her to find her wings. So that's it. I hope you liked it, and I hope you go out and pick it up. Again, it's on Libby. Thanks.